Have you ever wanted to shatter steel? Oh, horrible. Hi, Zizaran here with another Heist Leaguestarter, and this one being a collab with another content creator called Steelmage. And this is for Shattering Steel champion. So, like, who better than Steelmage? So, this should be very, very strong in all aspects. It should be really, really tanky. It should have pretty much as good clear speeds as you would expect from a melee build, and it should be really good for bosses. The new numbers look really, really impressive, and yeah, just very excited to see how this turns out. If I was going to be playing a melee build as a starter, this would probably be it. And something that's nice about this skill is that it does have like built-in scaling, which not every melee skill does. So we've done the skill tree like normal, where you have the point per point investment, and make sure you're using the Path of Building fork, or this special one won't load for you. That'll also be in the description. But all the things like normal, like what point to put where and what ascendancies to put in when, that is all part of the POB. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about the leveling setups. And Steelmage, tell us a little bit about how would you level this and approach like early game.
With this build, we're going to experiment with Splitting Steel. This is a new skill granted at level 1. You can get it at level 2 when you get past Hillock, called Splitting Steel. Now, we don't know how good this is going to be. It seems similar to Frostblades. It should be good. You might even be able to play this endgame, but for the time being, this build is focused on Shattering Steel at level 12. So going on from level 12, you can actually play as the main skill all the way from level 12. Should be quite strong. You won't get all the Impale until level 31 after your normal lab ascendancy, where you'll cap Impale and the build should really pop off. Now, something we don't know about is Call of Steel. It's a skill granted by any steel skill that's been equipped. This skill will rip all Impales from nearby enemies, granting you steel shards. These steel shards are a core mechanic of the steel skills. For Shattering Steel specifically, it grants you additional projectiles and 100% more damage depending on how close you are to the enemy per shard, firing up to 2 shards per attack.
Yeah, no, it looks very promising. I'm very happy with like the insane amount of flat physical it gets from the skill, and then the scaling looks good as well. We can see we have a endgame set up here. What about like when do you switch between like pierce or projectiles, GMP?
Obviously, again, because this is reworked, we haven't had any opportunity to test it yet. We don't know how the damage will feel. I think the 3-link Pierce Onslaught will be fun early on, but later on, when you get access to multiple projectiles and greater multiple projectiles, you might want to play around with swapping them in and out. By default, with the steel shards, you'll get 3 projectiles. This is probably not enough, so I'm thinking you'll have to swap between GMP and vicious projectiles. So you can just do that as you feel the need to.
And everything else looks fairly straightforward. It's like very, very similar to most melee skills. Bandits for this build is just you kill everything. You could take Illyria on day 1, but seeing as we're not a crit build, you would just be taking that for the resist and easy gearing. Pantheons? What pantheons would you recommend, Steelmage?
So I always prefer Solaris Gruthkul. While leveling, you don't have access to them. So I like to use Brian King and Ralakesh. So this is going to help with stuns and bleeds, which is good for it's good for Labyrinth.
And are there any like special annoyance for the amulet that we should look out for?
I was taking a look at this early on. Harvester of Foes is actually really powerful. It gives you Impale effect, a lot of damage, a lot of attack speed. But other than that, you could use generic leveling ones like Freedom of Movement, just for, faster clear.
And that's a lot cheaper one as well. And always remember, early on, if you are struggling with resistance stuff, Diamond Skin is a very, very cheap anoint, and it's basically just a teal oil. And yeah, very, very nice anoint there. As you can see here, we have one set of starter gear and one set of endgame gear, so you can look between them and switch. The Lionized Vision is actually something that you can farm in the start of Act 6 with farming the Dishonored Queen. So that is fairly farmable. I'm not 100% sure how long it would take. Steelmage might be able to shine some light on that.
Right, so this is going to depend on your luck, unfortunately. If you're on Trade League, it's very affordable to buy this card. So you don't actually have to farm the entire set yourself. But it can take a few tries. Worst case scenario, you're looking at quite a few hours. If you're lucky, it could take 30 minutes.
Other than that, you can see like every piece of gear is basically just life and resist early on. We try to always make sure that the league starters are basically working with nothing. And then, as long as you can get them working with nothing, they're generally very strong with gear. Endgame, you can see we have like better weapons. Everything has just been upgraded. Like something that would be really, really nice to aspire to on pretty much most builds. But enemies you kill explode chest is very, very nice. And do remember, for pretty much every build, the number one thing that I see new players ignore the most often is Flask. Making sure that you have your immunities, bleed, curse immunity, freeze immunity, very important. And a granite flask makes you borderline immortal during the leveling process. So projectile weakness is being changed to sniper's mark. Steel, do you want to say a little bit about that?
Right, so previously we would use vulnerability on a build like this. What do you call it? Sniper's Mark reworked projectile weakness gem is actually really, really, really powerful on bosses. Normally, bosses have a substantial amount of curse reduction, but the marks are completely different. They don't get that penalty. So the new Sniper's Mark gem will actually give you 40% more damage against bosses, which is actually really powerful for one gem slot.
That's important to keep in mind with all the new marks. So if you are crit, Assassin's Mark is like a very, very nice boss damage. And let's go over our checklist of things to solve for every build. Are there too many gems to equip? No, the build should have like quite a lot of room, and Steel himself said that he was just slamming in as many utilities as he could. Can the player have mana issues? For any attack build, you do always have the option of going down here to get the life and mana leech. You have Spirit Void and Vitality Void right there as well, and that is nice if you ever feel like you want to ditch a mana flask early on. And on Viridian Jewels, you can also get, there are two stats that are helpful you can get. You can get physical damage leached as, or physical attack damage leached as mana, and you can also get 2 mana gained per hit. You have those 3 to help you with mana issues, and until you do get something like that, or take the skill points here, then you can just use a mana flask. Useful leveling uniques would generally be like your normal set, like Gold Rim, Wanderlust, and things like that. Praxis would be really nice for mana issues as well, and maybe Thief's Torment. On top of that, you have, several unique axes. Cauterizer is good on a lot of builds, but because of Impale, it's not as strong in this one, so Blood Reaper would probably be like a nice early unique axe. So as far as quality of life and defense and things like that, you do get you get leech from Blood Rage, you get leech from your martial expertise stuff, and then you do have like a little bit of leech from a Viridian Jewel if you are able to get one. One thing worth mentioning for defenses and quality of life is that until you get Fortitude, the only way that you get Fortify early on, so for around 20 levels, around level 40, or as long as you get Unstoppable Hero, then you'll have to do Leap Slam with Fortify until you're able to ascend and take Fortitude from your Merc Lab. So what auras are efficient and why? So early on, we struggle more on mana, so Skitterbots and Pride are like interchangeable. If you feel like you're not having any mana issues, you can use Pride, but most likely you're going to be using Skitterbots early and switching to Pride later. Other than that, we have Warbanner, and then Flesh and Stone, and Maim. So what would you say the biggest drawbacks of this build is?
Right, yeah. I mean, if you're like trying to left click a boss to death, you're gonna run out of steel shards if you're not using your steel shard key, your quarter steel. This build probably caps at around like 3 million DPS, 3-4 million.
Yeah,
which is not that nuts, like you're going 5 mil. It's decent, yeah. Because it's not like I didn't put GG gear in there because I don't even know what GG gear looks like anymore.
Yeah, SSF life. And again, huge thank you to Steelmage for making this build and sharing it with us in our community. Hope this helps a lot of you guys on Leaguestar. Make sure you follow and subscribe and give a lot of love to Steelmage. We'll link his like Twitter and YouTube in the description down below. Thank you, Steelmage.
Just hope the build doesn't suck.
Hopefully we never have another explosive arrow again. I hope you guys have the best of luck in the upcoming Heist League. Good luck in Heist, and try to die less than I do.